Welcome to the Ivory Egg technical briefing for the 23rd of March. We've got a bit of a special one. This one we're going to focus on some Gira product announcements that have all come from, from Light and Building, obviously been postponed through to the end of September, but Gira have proceeded with their product release. So lots of new updates, including some new products and some updates to some of the existing products. But before we jump into the products specifically, Gira's had a bit of a rebrand. The website has had a big overhaul, and they're really taking a more consumer focus around what they're doing with solutions and products. It's very much trying to engage with a wider audience about what you can achieve and control in your home without getting bogged down in the technical details. So there's lots of really cool imagery on the site now, and lots of kind of descriptions of functionality without going into detail for product. All the tech information is still available. It's just on the partner.gira site. I'll share the link to the download site in the notes below when I share the video. So there is plenty of, there's still all the same technical information, but it is a much more user focus and a really good kind of reference site to point customers at when you're talking to them, and use it as a bit of an example as to what's possible. So jump onto the Gira website and have a look. So into the products. The first big one is the Pushbutton Sensor 4. Now this has been talked about and kind of been in the background for a long time. Gira finally got it ready to release to the market. It comes in a couple of different versions. There's the 2 button, which is a 1 rocker. So you've got it can either be either side rocker, left and right, or it can be individual button functions. There's the 4 button version, which is the 2 rocker, and then the full 8 button version, which we can see here. It's got tactile feedback, so it's not capacitive touch. It is actually a button push, and the LEDs are available in 8 different colors, and you can select a different color for each LED, or you can have them all the same. It's completely inscribable, and as part of that, as part of this new product, they've updated what you can inscribe it with. So there's more options around the text and icons, and where you can, put the different bits of engraving on the product. So lots of different options to make it, a really simple, clear user interface for the homeowner. It's designed to, they're kind of thinking of it as a slightly higher quality product than the Pushbutton Sensor 4. It doesn't replace anything. It's sitting above the Pushbutton Sensor 3 in the kind of product lineup. So it matches the existing finishes. So you've got the Esprit finish. So it'll match the Esprit range, and then you've got the E2 finishes as well. So it will be available in all the different finishes, but I'll come back to that in a little second. It's got an integrated humidity and temperature sensor. It's not doing the regulation because you can do that off board, and most manifold controllers now. The Gira 6-channel heating regulator, for example, has got the functions built in for doing the regulation. So it's just providing temperature sensor. But it does have a connection for an external temperature probe that can be connected if you've got underfloor heating, for example. You want to bring that into the back of the device, or maybe for a thimble probe on the other side of the room. It supports KNX Data Secure, so that's where the individual objects can be made secure, as opposed to IP Secure, which is making the IP layer secure. This does support full KNX Data Secure, and it's where we've seen a really big push from Gira in terms of making sure that the systems we're installing in people's homes are as secure and reliable as possible. So they're implementing KNX Data Secure on all their new products, and really are leading the way in terms of the support for KNX Secure across the entire product portfolio. A lot of the existing products like the G1, the S1, the X1, they've always been KNX Secure already. And obviously that function is enabled now, but they certainly are leading the charge and making sure homes are as secure as possible. So it's great to see. It does have an integrated bus coupler. It comes as a single unit, so nice and easy in terms of ordering and supply. One of the big changes we're seeing is around the way we can program devices like this in ETS. A while ago, the KNX Association developed a new kind of a new, I guess, parameter application where instead of things being a single row, you can actually have multiple rows of information within the parameters. Now, that's very much something at the back end in terms of how you can configure them, but now we're starting to see manufacturers take advantage of that. And all of the new products we're going to see from Gira have some of this new functionality. So having things like better, imagery within parameters. So you can actually be more descriptive, more text fields, and multiple row tables. So setting up scenes, for example, instead of doing, all in one long list, you can have a table which shows each scene and the value of the different circuits in that scene. So a lot of big updates in terms of how things are programmed in ETS. And the other one is the ability to update firmware. So a lot of these products, these new products we're going to see, they can be programmed through the new Gira plugin using the DCA, device configuration app, which is the new form of plugins in ETS, where you can have an app, and through that you can get more functionality like updating the firmware on products. So some really good updates along with these this new exciting finish. And as for finishes, there's two sets. So available immediately, we have a black glass, white glass, a black aluminium, and a stainless steel. And then from October, we're going to see some other finishes. Bronze, which is a new finish, which is going to pop up in the next, over this presentation. We'll see a couple of different instances of the bronze. Pure white glossy, black matte, grey matte, which is another new range, and pure white satin matte, and anthracite. So pretty comprehensive options in terms of design. And I haven't had a chance to play with one yet, obviously, but we're looking forward to getting the first getting some sample products of it and see what it looks and feels like. But if it's anything like normal Gira products, it will obviously be a very high-end operation and very reliable. And just a question on chat. Yeah, it is absolutely frameless design, no frame finish, and it is the size of an Esprit frame, so it will match Esprit very, very well. Complete standalone unit, effectively. The rockers are separate. It comes with clear rockers that can be for installation, much like the Push Sensor 3. And then you order the rockers separately in terms of finish. So you can choose the different finishes based on the rockers as per the normal Pushbutton Sensor 3 range. And that's where you can get them inscribed. So very flexible from an installation point of view. So that's Pushbutton Sensor 4, which sits effectively above Pushbutton Sensor 3. But Gira have also released a new product for below the Push Sensor 3. Now, we've always had the KNX Rockers with Gira. They've been around for a very long time, and they've had a complete overhaul. So we have the same kind of configuration where you've got a single rocker or a double rocker. But you can now have, there's an LED, and it has 3 different colors within the LED. Sorry, on the single or double rocker, you can have 4 functions on a double rocker. So you can have up and down functions. You could be doing a different function on the up push as you could to the bottom push, what would be called 2-point control or 4-point control. They now have an integrated temperature sensor, which is one of the big challenges with the last rocker set, is that you couldn't have, if you were doing room temperature control, you needed something else on the wall. So this really makes this product suitable for maybe kids' rooms, maybe utilities, rooms that don't need all the buttons that you would have on a Push Sensor 3 or a Push Sensor 4, or rooms where you want to keep the cost down. It can also be used as a really clear and simple user interface where the homeowner isn't looking for something complicated. They want all the benefits of having home automation in terms of controlling it from an app, integrated and turning off all the lighting, for example, when you leave the property, all those kind of system benefits, scenes, that kind of control. But at the user interface level, you want something really clear and simple, so anybody who's walking into the property is able to use the interface to control the lighting. Or the lighting and heating in this case. It comes with an integrated bus coupling unit, and I haven't shown an image of it, sorry, but this is inscribable as well. So you are able to label it with what the functions are, which I think is a really nice improvement over the existing rocker set. Sits in system 55 frames. It is also available in the F100 frames for countries that have access to them. We don't in the UK, unfortunately, mainly because they were never used. But it does also come in an F100 variant as well. And again, supports KNX Data Secure, has this newer configuration within ETS. So great to see some of those other updates rolling over across the product portfolio. Yeah, it will fit E2 because it's System 55. So System 55 fits in all of the current frame ranges. System 55 is the 55 by 55 insert. Standard 55 is the range of finishes. So yeah, it'll work within your Esprit, E2, E3 event, and the standard 55 frames as well. And it's available from October, so we'll see it nearer the end of the year. But yeah, available in 3 finishes at the moment: the white, stainless steel, and black. But I'm sure there'll be others added because it is just the rocker cover. I'm sure there'll be a lot more. In terms of price point on some of these products, we don't have that detail yet. We don't have it updated, but we know that it will certainly be pitched below the current Push Sensor 3 range. So it'll be, this will be your kind of your entry point pricing. Then it'll go up to Push Sensor 3 with the current pricing range, and then it'll go to the Push Sensor 4 above that. That's all the detail we have on pricing at the moment. The next big update is the actuator range. Now, Gira Actuators have been absolutely rock solid for a very long time. They have been probably one of the most reliable products we've sold, and we've sold a huge amount of them over the years. The 1038 and the 1037 have certainly been a real benchmark in terms of products, what it should be able to do, but also in reliability. And whilst that range has always been, has been around for a long time, it has always kind of held its place in the market because of it just works out of the box. But that's not to mean it can't be improved, and that's why Gira have completely overhauled their actuator lineup and have brought out a couple of new products. Now, there's 3 new channel sizes: 6-channel, 16-channel, and 24-channel. And we've introduced a standard and a comfort version. So there'll be 6 new products as part of this range. And all of the different versions, the terminals are on the top and bottom of the device, which enables them to bring down the module width. But they've kept, nice, clear labeling fields. It's all laser inscribed markings on the device. So it's really easy to see where to terminate. And there's plenty of space. I know some other manufacturers, they're really trying to condense it down and, having things like, channels sitting over the top of each other, for example, things like that. Whereas, Gira very much, it's about it being clear and easy to terminate. And they've certainly maintained that. But by having the channels at the top and bottom, it's going to be, reducing that space. But also, it should be easier in the panel. As long as you're maintaining that separation from the KNX bus, you've got that 4 mil separation between any exposed cores, then you're good to go. So the standard range, the focus is on quick, easy to use. There isn't a huge amount of functionality. There is what you'd expect and what you'd need, things like scenes, for example. It just doesn't have all the additional logic that we'll see in the comfort range. So, certainly trying to keep that price point low for maybe larger projects. We've got a lot of channels. It might be apartments or MDUs, multi-dwelling units. So the standard range is your base level. And then your comfort range is really pushing the boundaries of what you can do on an actuator. But really trying to push ahead with functionality and flexibility, giving you a huge range of options. One of the big changes is around the way the logic works. They've increased the logic a lot. So where you used to have a 2-channel OR gate, for example, it can now be 4-channel. And the logic is separate to the channel function. There's converters for converting size of data. There's comparators. There's also limiters with hysteresis. There's a sun and window function, so you can do sun tracking on the device. Really, really just trying to get as much intelligence in there as possible, so you don't need to rely on external servers. You don't need to have another device sitting in the flow of communications. So you can really get the full benefits of a decentralized control system because you've got more options in terms of the logic. So standard, nice and simple, easy to use, base level of functionality, which is suitable for a lot of applications. but the comfort really steps up in terms of what you can achieve. So going to be really interesting to see, the options on the devices. Either device can be a blind actuator. So you can go from a 6-channel relay to a 3-channel blind actuator. And there is on the comfort, there is the function for automatic runtime on the blinds and being able to copy and paste that across the different channels. I'm not sure on the standard whether it has that runtime calculation, something we'll need to check when we get a bit closer to release, which is going to be in August. And again, that support for KNX Data Secure and support for the newer functions within ETS. What we don't have detail on is the phase out process for the 1037 and the 1038, the older actuators. Now, don't have any detail at all, but it's safe to assume at some point they will phase from one to the other. But given that product has been in the market so long, I'm sure Gira will have a very phased transition to this product. We are going to see this available from August, and again, another product that really looking forward to getting a hold of and seeing what the functionality is really like. Pretty exciting and great to see the change. One that I've not put super detail on because the release date was a little bit further, but Gira are working on a couple of other updates to the dimming actuators. We're going to see a new 4-channel dimmer, which will be in a reduced module width and really optimized for LED. That's going to be released after these actuators, so we're waiting on that. Certainly we'll have more information for you guys as we get it about that product. And the other is the certification of the DALI gateways for DALI 2. That doesn't mean they'll support multi-master, it just means they'll be certified for the newer standard of DALI 2. And again, that's going to be happening later in the year as well. So certainly more to watch out for from Gira. The next update is the Cube Detector. Now, this was released, this is already available, and a few people may have seen it. It was released a month or two ago, but I thought I'd just cover it quickly because it presents a real difference in terms of what an outdoor detector can look like. It's something that's designed for a very architectural kind of view. Certain properties that might suit really well in terms of if you've got a lot of square lines, sharp edges, it might fit really well. Others maybe it doesn't. So it's nice to have the option and have it there as an option. So when you're sitting down and talking with the homeowner or the designer or the architect, and you're talking about the functionality that you're going to offer in the building in terms of having outdoor lighting and what that means for the automation, how you can control the building, but also being able to have an architectural discussion as well and choosing what something would look like. Now, this is available in a 230-volt version and a KNX version in white or black. It can be wall mounted as in the picture, but it can also be adapted for ceiling mounting, I think, which could have some nice application, particularly if you've got a lot of exposed beams, for example. You've got a lot of sharp edges. Designed for outdoors, but of course no reason you couldn't use it indoors well. It is using thermal detection, so infrared for motion, but it's very much tuned to focus on the type of detection you'd get from a human moving around. It's got an integrated brightness sensor for light dependent switching, so you can have control of the lighting at night or during the day. And there's a couple of different options with the detection angle in terms of it can be 120 degrees with a more focused detection, or wider at 240 degrees, and a 16 meter detection range, quite a large range for quite a large outdoor space. The IP rating, it is rated, I'm pretty sure it's at IP56, but I'll need to double check on that. I know it is an IP50 rating. I just can't remember if it was 54 or 56. So let me check on that, and I'll certainly put it in the notes of the presentation. It is available now, ready to go. Next update is the door communication updates. So one big one is some new finishes for the 106 outdoor detectors. We've got bronze and we've got a black matte aluminium. So these are just extending the options, and we're seeing a lot more bronze. We've seen it in the push sensor 4. This is another instance of it, so we could have bronze throughout more of the property. And then the black matte aluminium, I think, will be quite a nice finish. Really keen to see these in the flesh, because I don't think the pictures really do it justice. They'll be available from October. A couple of other updates we've had recently. The app has had a big update. This is available now for the DoorComs app if you're using that for remote for calls going through to mobile. They've introduced camera images, so it can store the images when someone calls presses the doorbell, and you can also start the camera remotely. So if you're away from the property and you want to look at to see if anyone's around at the front door, you can. You don't need to have a door call. Doesn't need to have been made before you can see the camera. You can just log in and see the camera at any time, which is cool. And another really big update was the G1 room controller having a SIP client. So where you maybe aren't using the Gira door communication systems and you want to integrate the Gira system with a external third-party door entry system, such as that from Comlit, or any system that's using SIP potentially, you can use the G1 room controller. It can log in to that system and just act as the door station. So completely separate from Gira, but it does expand the functionality of the G1 and mean that that is the only controller you need on the wall in a lot of installations. So lots of information out there about the G1 SIP client update. Definitely something to look out for if you're looking at particularly on larger MDU projects. It might be particularly relevant. So that's the end of the kind of new product announcements. There is a bit of a summary at the end of a few of the other ones that I haven't gone into too much detail on. But in terms of product updates, there's a couple of really exciting things happening with the Homeserver. Now, I quite often get asked as to the kind of, is the Homeserver going to stay relevant with the X1 and the X1 being used on a lot more projects? And we have seen more functionality added to the X1 over time. Does the Homeserver still have a place? And for me, I think it really does. I think the amount of information you can display, the ability to do graphing and get a lot of information on a page, and really go into finer detail around how you control a building. I still think nothing really does it as well. I think the Homeserver is still one of the best products in the market that can do that. But there has been lots of stuff that need to update and change on it. And Gira have had a really progressive attitude to this in terms of there've been lots of different things happening in the background in terms of the Homeserver updates. The last couple were very much structural updates. And now we're going to see some new options in terms of visualization and control. So it really is, being prepared for the future. And there's certainly some updates that are going to make a big difference to what it looks like and how it works. So the first update is Homeserver 4.10, which is available now. This was released a couple of days ago. You can download this already. Now with 4.10, they've introduced support for KNX Secure. Now that's for the connection between the Homeserver and the bus. Supports multicast, which was what the Homeserver's always had, but they've also introduced IP interface, so you can connect via a interface to your KNX installation, which is perfect when you're just using an S1, for example, from Gira, where you don't have an IP router, you don't need an IP router. Being able to connect to the system on the interface connection makes a lot more sense. It also supports KNX Secure at a USB level. Now, for this to work, the ETS project needs to know about the Homeserver because it's part of the keyring that happens with KNX Secure. So you have to have a device in ETS for it, and then you export the keyring from ETS, which you then import into Homeserver. But there's lots of information about that as part of the support documentation for the product. If you are looking at that secure implementation on Homeserver, get in touch. We'll certainly be able to guide you through it, or get in touch with the Gira hotline team. The other update, lots of other updates. Another update is support of PTZ cameras using the ONVIF protocol, which is a standardized protocol for communication with kind of IP security and camera devices that gives you pan, tilt, and zoom control. There's a logic block for that, so a lot more control over cameras and in a more standardized way, which has long been needed, so that's really exciting. Adds the if this then that integration, which we already have on the X1, and if this then that is often thought of as a kind of consumer DIY IoT solution, and absolutely it does have a lot of usage in that, but there's a couple of really interesting things you can do with it which I think really increase the functionality of the Homeserver and make it relevant for professionals as well, for integrators. Things like geofencing, being able to offer that to the customer. Could be weather forecasting, being able to get short-term local weather forecast into the Homeserver, which you can then use in lots of different ways. is, for example, not turning on the sprinkler system because we know that there's a storm coming through. It could also be used to extend into energy management and knowing to use the whether you're going to wait for the sun to come out before you turn on, charge the car, for example. So it does open up a huge amount more information that we can get into your project, which you can use in lots of different ways. So I think there's some real good things around this thing that really do increase what we can achieve in an installation. The 4.10 update introduces support for virtual server. So you can export a version of the project, which you can then run on VMware, for example, and run a virtual instance of the server. It doesn't connect to the bus, so you can't use it for any kind of control, but you can use it to visualize what's happening with the home server. It's a really simple way to see what the quad client looks like, either for testing or for introducing to your customer and getting sign off. So instead of having to download to the home server each time you want to see what's happening, you can just run it as a virtual server, which definitely is something that's designed for the integrators to support the integrators, which is great to see. They've introduced some more URL options. So they've changed the way URL calls happen and changed how it's displayed within Quad Client. So now you can either have a whole tile as a URL display, you can have two of the quads, or you can have it over the whole screen. So a lot more options to integrate URL feeds and displaying websites, for example, into the home server display within the Quad client. They've also formally and finally released the Android app. This has been in beta for the last couple of months. There's actually been 3 beta versions they've released, and this is all about improving the reliability and the stability. They've now got the error rate down to 0.2%. So the current version, which is now formally released, they've had say disconnect issues less than 0.2%, which is a very, very high standard, a very high bar in terms of reliability. I know a couple of people have been desperate for this, so this is available now, but you need to bring your home server up to 4.10, and you need to make sure you're running the latest app, not using the beta one. So that's brilliant. So that's what we've got now, but what have we got coming? The first one, yes, it supports S1. So the S1 integration is also working within the Android app as well. So you can connect remotely from the S1, using the S1 as your remote connection in Android, which is good as well. So the big updates going forward, and this is what we're going to see in a couple of months. The first one is a day-night mode on the visualization. So this is having two balanced displays. It's exactly the same in terms of the icons and the labeling and everything, but it's just switching the color palette from black to white. So we can have a white mode. You might use this only because it's more legible, it's easier to read, or you can switch the display between day and night depending on an object. So introduces effectively a complete new skin for the home server, and it works on all devices. The app could be on the G1, or it could be on the full-size display. This white space is something we've seen as a real theme from different manufacturers. Obviously, the X1 and the G1 have supported it for a long time. A lot of the AV manufacturers, their apps are moving to this really clean, clear white display, this user interface, and it's nice to see Gira extending it to the home server, and it does, I think, freshen it up and makes it quite a nice installation. We don't have any detail as to the granularity of the control, whether you can have it on different devices or whether it is on a per device or per interface level, or if it's global across the system. That's something we'll have to look out for when we get more information. But this works right through to the full-size quad client display, as we can see here. We've also introduced a new floor plan control function. Now, this is a plugin which you can edit within. There's an editor for it that enables you to create these floor plans or import a floor plan and add overlay, more structure. You can do status feedback with it. So here we have lights showing. You can see which lights are on and off. You can see which blinds open, closed. You can't control from it, but when you click a room, that can be set to automatically pull up the room control function on the left-hand side of the menu. So whilst it hasn't got very, very granular control, it enables you to very quickly navigate through the installation, find the room you want to control, and then you'll have all the room functions listed on the left-hand side. can have different floor plan, different floor layers as part of it. Really, really interesting. I think it's going to be a really cool upgrade option for existing home servers, and certainly of good function. Something that will be really useful for new installations as well. Again, this is a future release, so we don't have all the information, but certainly looks quite intriguing, really, I think, in terms of ways to control the system. That's part of a much wider update, which is happening on 4.11, which we will see from June. Around June, that will be released. So we've got the floor plan layout, which is cool, and you've got the editor for creating them. There's also the day-night switching for that better daytime visibility. As part of the update, they're actually introducing even more icons, so they'll be extending it to over 600 symbols available. And there's some as part of the day-night mode, they're changing how the visualization works a little bit in terms of size of buttons within quad client legibility, and they're changing the pop-ups to be in the same theme. So instead of being the green pop-up, which we're used to now, pop-ups will be in black, or they'll match the day-night mode, which I think is a really long overdue update. One of the really big things, though, which I'm sure a lot of people will be pretty grateful for, is the ability to test logic live. You'll be able to do it live onto the KNX bus to test your values and test your logic as you're creating it. I don't have any detail over how that works just yet, but this is something that I certainly know I've been it's been a pain point within the home server for a very long time, or forever. So it's really good to see that with the virtual server, so to see how the display works, and the live testing. I think the home server really is now set for the future in terms of what you can achieve with it. And they're going to be introducing the Sonos, the Works with Sonos certification, which provides effectively guarantees that the Sonos operation is going to work, and there is also some longevity guarantees with it as well, in terms of how long Sonos will support that third-party integration. So we already have the Sonos control, but they'll be moving to the certification Works with Sonos in June. Available from June. The other one, which is snuck in at the bottom here, is a new design option for the home server. So you will be able to get it with a black faceplate. It doesn't change the server. It's exactly the same model, still the Home Server 4. It just, instead of having the anodized aluminium front, you'll be able to get it in a black finish, which, if you're rack mounting it, will certainly make it look really smart within that installation. If it's mounted externally, again, it'll just tidy it up a fair bit and brings it in line with the day-night mode as well, which I think is quite cool. So big updates for the home server. The X1 isn't being left alone, though. There are a couple of updates for the X1. So there is a big update coming in terms of how we can, how much flexibility you give the user in terms of how the app looks. So using within the GPA, the programming, you can give different users access rights. Depending on their access rights, they can sort and rename functions. They can rename rooms. They can change icons. They can even use emoticons on room names. Complete flexibility over what their app looks like. It will still have the same functions. That's locked down at a programming level, but it just gives a lot more flexibility over what it looks like, and it means that you're, as an integrator, your role is assured because you need to set it up and configure it. But it's giving the homeowner flexibility over how they control their home, which is what we're here to do, right? Make it work and then support homeowners as they live and use their house in whichever way they want. They're updating the timers, so we'll have the end user, or via the app, you'll have the ability to change astro timers, so sunrise, sunset, and random timers. You can do your delays before and after sunrise, or you can randomize sunset, sunrise actions. They're all functions we have already within the programming, but this makes them available for the user as well, which is a really big step up. And the final big update is around the upgrade packages. So the number of functions and objects on the X1 is limited, but that's not really a memory limit. You'll be able to, via the Gira app shop, buy extension packages, which will increase the number of functions you can have on the X1 and increase the number of objects. Now, I know a couple of integrators regularly hit that upper limit of what you can achieve on the X1, and this really does expand it. into the thousands in terms of the number of objects you can have. I think the maximum you can have with the different you can add the two packages together. I think you can get to 650 functions and over 1,000 objects, which should be which should make the X1 applicable for most projects. So you'd buy it in the normal way, and then you go to the app shop and you buy the functionality through the app shop. That's a one-time fee. It's not a subscription. It's just boosting the functionality of it, which is pretty cool. So a couple of, I didn't change the title, a couple of other updates across the Gira product release. The PIR, the normal comfort PIR for internal use, now has a temperature sensor. So you could, for rooms, maybe bathrooms where you don't have a keypad on the wall, you can just take the temperature directly from the PIR to the your heating regulator for the regulation and control, which is a neat little update. The grey matte is a new finish within E2, which we'll see shortly, which complete finish across the entire range of inserts and rocker covers, which just increases what you can achieve in the building in terms of design. A new Esprit bronze, again, which matches the 106 external station. USB-C charging types, and a new Shuko with USB, not necessarily relevant to some markets, but USB. Both USB connection types on the USB charging options. And this System 3000, which is the 230 volt range, they've released a new heating controller with a Bluetooth control functionality as well, which is one of the last pieces to come into the 3000 updated range. There's loads and loads of other little updates, and there's things I've skipped over just to keep this flowing. And the best way you can find out about that and all the other updates from Gira is via the Gira Akademie. Now, over the next few weeks, they're going to be doing more in-depth training on all of the new products and software and features and what can be achieved starting from tomorrow. So jump onto the Gira Akademie and check that out. There's loads of really good content on there, existing stuff for commissioning door comms and Homeserver and X1s, guides, really good, resource to use. And if you're looking at, how you're going to keep your staff busy, what you're going to do over the next few months while we're all, we're all doing our bit and staying at home, then Gira Akademie is a really good resource for that. So check it out. I'll post the link below as well. So that's it for this update. There'll be more updates coming, but for now, I hope everybody's kind of staying safe and doing their bit, staying indoors. If everyone needs any help, please reach out to us. We're still shipping and available. Most of our manufacturers are still shipping. Obviously it's a changing game all the time, but we'll see how we go. But we are still open for business. And if anyone needs any support, how they're going to get through this, I've got questions about how their business is going to work and survive, we're just open to have those chats and help you out. So reach out to the Ivory Egg team, check out the Ivory Egg website for loads of articles and blogs and content as usual. And thanks for watching this Ivory Egg technical briefing.